Welcome to Malcom Reed's How to Barbecue Right, a podcast where we talk about barbecue, share recipes, and discuss all things delicious. And now, here's your host, Malcom and Rachelle Reed.
Hey, welcome back to the How to Barbecue Right podcast. I'm your host, Malcom Reed, joined by my lovely wife, Miss Southern Shell. It's another week in the book, Shell. It's Friday. What's popping?
Friday. Pulled pork on a Weber grill.
Pulled pork on a Weber grill. Man, that takes me back to like cooking a butt a long time ago, before I knew what a vortex was or snake method.
Before you had a smoker.
Before I had a smoker. I always had a Weber kettle. That was probably, if I had to, I remember my parents having this old, it wasn't a WSM, but it was like a cheap version of a WSM, and then they had a Weber kettle. That was the two grills that I grew up with.
Was it like
it was the old school kettle. I wish I still had it.
Did they have that shape like a WSM?
Yeah, the smoker did, and they bought it because my dad wanted to smoke a turkey, I think, one Thanksgiving. And I wish I could remember the brand name. It's probably like Charbroil or something. Yeah, it didn't work. it was like you were supposed to smoke the turkey for 24 hours, and it had this water pan that you had, it was the old school one.
Yeah.
It had two pans. One was like an ash pan. There was a water pan above it. But if I remember right, the ash pan didn't have a grate. You were supposed to put charcoal in there, and it had a little trap door for you to add more charcoal and wood, and then you're supposed to smoke this turkey for 24 hours.
I remember those. I remember the little trap door, but it was real small.
Yeah, it was a real small one, yeah. And in fact, when we were cooking Lakeland Fun Fest years ago, and Jim Haney was cooking with us, he had brought one of those because he did wings on it. It was like one of those old school ones before, the WSMs. Weber may have had the WSM back then, but I don't remember. We didn't have one. We had whatever Walmart had it.
Yeah.
It's probably or Kmart. It's probably where my dad got it. And it must have been like a Charbroil or whatever. I don't know. I'll have to ask him. So he probably don't remember. I don't think it lasted very long. It rusted to pieces. It was a thin gauge metal, but the Weber kettle hung in there. That was what we cooked the family steaks on. If they did ribs, they would. My mom always. I grew up. They didn't know how to cook ribs. They did the old parboiling, which is barbecue sin, and then we only had them on like 4th of July or something like that, and they'd have a big grill laid out, and they would come. I remember they stunk so bad. Bulling ribs does not smell good. They stink the whole house up, and then they'd take them outside, and my mom would whip up, whatever sauces was on sale. That she would doctor them up and add stuff to them, and that's probably how I got to making up sauces and stuff.
I
watched my mom mix up stuff. The sauce was pretty good, but then they'd grill those boiled ribs off and then start basting them at the end on this big, huge, charcoal style. I don't even know if it had a lid on it. It was just kind of I guess you call it a vent grill or something like that, or a homemade version of one. That was how I remember ribs growing up, and it wasn't until I got into competition barbecue that I learned what and how to cook real ribs.
Yeah.
Gridley's, I thought had good ribs back in the day.
Riblets.
Applebee's riblets.
So you have every fancy grill there is.
I don't have all of them. I got a bunch of them. I'm always open for more, Shell.
You have options.
I do. I do have options. I have options every time I go to cook, what I want to cook on.
Why cook a pork butt on a Weber?
Because I got a new Weber for my birthday.
Okay.
And I was just wanted to show folks how to do it. I didn't, there's a lot of people that don't know that you can cook a great whole pork butt on a long cook without having to add any more coals or anything on a Weber kettle.
Without it being difficult.
Yeah, without it being difficult at all. I didn't have to add any more coal, and I didn't have to do anything really. I just kind of watched it. The temperature's locked in. It's simple to do, and that was what that video was all about. It wasn't about a recipe. Like you could do any of my pork butt recipes that I have out there, or anybody else has out there. You can do it on a Weber kettle. That was really what I was wanting to show, that it can be done on a simple grill like a Weber kettle. And Weber's been around forever, and they probably more people have those in their backyards than any other grill, I would imagine.
Yeah,
that's safe bet. But and it turned out great. So the whole thing with cooking a butt or any other larger cut of meat that's going to take a lot of time is managing that fire. And so that was the whole thing with the technique in the Weber kettle.
But I never saw you have to, you checked on it and made sure everything was running right, but you never added more coal, you never added more wood, you never really.
No, I staged it off from the beginning and got a good burn.
Yeah.
So let's talk about. Let me just tell you how I set it up.
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
you were there, but everybody else wasn't.
Yeah.
Unless they saw the video. But so the Weber kettle, there's two ways to set up kind of a 2-zone fire in it. And with what I was going for this way was where I snake the coals. I call it a charcoal snake, and I didn't make that up. I've seen that used all kinds of places. But all it means is you get a line of coal and you kind of form it around your fire or your whatever your firebox is. In my case, it was the sides of the Weber kettle into like a single line all the way around. But you don't go completely around because you want to have a void at the end, or all the coals will catch up and it'll
run
burn
from
together.
both
It won't
sides.
run
Yeah.
from end to front, into I guess tail to head. But so what I did was I took about half a bag of Royal Oak briquettes and just kind of lined them around the outer edge of that kettle. And I wanted them pushed back kind of in a pile. I didn't get into all arranging them, placing each one perfect and all that. I just want a good bed of coals around the edge.
I saw somebody say, make a comment on the video, like, I've only seen people like delicately place their coals.
I'm not that OCD. I'm not OCD at all. In fact, I like the randomness of things.
Yeah. You kind of poured it in there and just kind of made sure it was all up against the side.
Yeah. The only thing I did, so
Made a hill.
to make this 2-zone fire work in a Weber this way, you have to have that void in the direct center of the grill. And so I've been using a charcoal vortex. It's one of my favorite accessories for a Weber. I used it, but I turned it upside down, and that kind of creates this void around the center, and that's a perfect place to set the pork butt.
But you could have used anything.
But you could have used a pan. You could have used a small aluminum half pan would work great.
Yeah. That's
Anything that you could set there to kind of keep the coals out of the center. Now, I did take the time to push those coals back away from the vortex because I didn't want them too close to the butt.
And you didn't want them heating up the vortex.
Yeah, and I didn't want them heating up. I mean, it's any more so than it was going to
Yeah,
get.
yeah.
I mean, there's a pretty good fire going, but it's controlled, and you can kind of see in the video how the flames when I open the grill up, it gets more air and they start going. But it's not like a wildfire all the way around in a ring.
Yeah.
It's controlled burn all the way around, slow, and you get that by just starting a few of the coals on the very end, and I used a couple tumbleweeds to get those going. Now, also for smoke flavor, I scattered out wood chunks in that snake, and I knew I was only going to need about 4 hours of smoke, so I didn't go all the way around with wood. You could use whatever wood you want. I think I used pecan and cherry for this video. I like that on pork butts, but I scattered those out. I started those few coals with the tumbleweed on the end, and as soon as the first, probably, 3 or 4 coals, 5 maybe coals, got good and glowing, glowing red, hot, ashed over, I went ahead and shut the top vent and then just let it start slowly coming up. And as
How long did that take to get those first few coals?
15 minutes tops. Yeah, 15 minutes I seasoned the butt. I'll talk about how I prepped it.
Yeah.
But I had it seasoned while I lit the coals. Let the coals come up, shut the vent, and then left the bottom vent and the top exhaust wide open at first. So all the holes are open. And that's letting the air draw through there. Well, it's letting them catch a little bit. So it'll start climbing up. And I trusted the dial on the Weber. I was just first time cooking a butt on that particular Weber. I didn't have another, great probe or anything like that in there. I just trusted the dial. When it got close to 200, a little bit over, like 225 right in there, I checked the vents back on top and bottom to about 50% open.
On both top
Top and bottom. That restricted the airflow coming in, and it held some of the air, the heat in there going out, but it don't let your fire get away from you.
Yeah.
That's what kept it right around 250. Now, it would creep up a little bit. As the wood caught, I noticed that you would see it go to like 275 maybe, but it never got over 275 really. I didn't never see 300 unless I held the lid open too long. Sometimes when we were taking some pictures, it would creep on up and get a little hot, but I'd check it back down. I didn't adjust the vent. I just let it stabilize. Because
let's say you put it on 50 and 50 top, 50 bottom, and you're having problems getting it up to the 250. Would you just bottom?
I would adjust both of them a little bit at the same time and see how it goes, and then watch
lightly.
it. If it's swinging. Now, that's the thing about cooking on a Weber. It's not exact science because it's going to depend on the outside temperature, on how much wind you have, or the draft going through it.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to really learn to work those vents, but don't get – it's not going to run away from you. If it was cooking 300, 325, I wouldn't care.
Just let it roll.
You just know your time's going to be a little different. You might need to spritz a little more often or something like that. But you can control it pretty good with the vents. And it worked with the snake method, void in the center, it controls really well. It's simple. It really is.
Yeah. I was impressed by how
it was set and
smooth
forget.
that cook went.
Yeah, it was set and forget.
Yeah.
So
or maybe it's just the user.
So, well, no, I mean, I did not do anything crazy. I dumped the coals in, moved them around from the vortex, put me some wood in there, lit them, let them go, check the lid back, check the vents back. That's the whole setup. That's the technique.
Yeah.
Now comes the butt part. So I started with
let me ask you, I got some questions about the setup. If you do use a pan, could you add liquid to it?
Yes.
Or is there any point?
Yes, you could. And I actually thought of that. I was like, man, that's a good opportunity to put, some apple juice in there, some vinegar, some beer.
Yeah.
If you just wanted another heat sink, that's what it would be. You're not going to get really any flavor from it. But do
you get moisture from it at all?
I hadn't. No, it's not really. I mean, it might make a little in there, but it's mainly just to regulate temperatures underneath it. But the butt didn't burn up on bottom at all. There was no heat. I mean, it was from top to bottom. It looked great.
Yeah.
I was really impressed with how even it cooked. I didn't rotate it. I didn't do anything. I just let it roll.
It did. It cooked very, very even.
Because it really was. That was a test for that grill to me, and it passed with flying colors. It did fantastic.
Some people asked about why did you go counterclockwise instead of clockwise, and I have thought about this
Well, I'm in the this hemisphere, whichever one this is, and that's the way things go. If I was in the other hemisphere, whichever that is, I'd do the other way.
I don't get.
It's like the toilet flush thing. You know how it goes down one way, one side, one hemisphere.
I've thought about
There's
it.
no reason.
And I've thought about it. I'm like, does it matter?
I would not think so. And the only way I could find out, I guess, is if I snake them around the other way.
Give it a
But
go.
I would bet $1,000 that it doesn't make a bit of difference which way you run that snake or which end you like first. As long as you got them spread around, it's going to roll.
And okay, so this is a really
I saw that comment. I was like, that's a head scratcher. Why would you think it matters which way you run them around?
And this whole week, I've just been like stopping and being like, does it matter? And I'm trying to think about like airflow and but it doesn't matter.
It doesn't make a difference. I would.
So here's a good question. People were talking about, I guess there's this myth, or I don't know if it's a myth, but about when charcoal catches it first, it gives off bad fumes, bad chemicals, things like that.
I don't get that from anything that I cook, and I've been cooking.
Maybe that's bad charcoal.
I've been cooking with let's call it a minion method for as long as I've learned to cook barbecue, and all that means is I set my firebox up with enough coal in there to get me a long burn on low and slow cooks.
Yeah.
I always start a fire in one side and let it burn over by controlling the air across it. And that's all we're doing with the snake method. We're just getting enough airflow in there for that thing to slowly burn around. And it's hot enough to where it's not giving off anything bad. It's not like it has, it's not like it's cooking right on a chimney when you first start it and it's first burning off. But really what you're smelling there is probably the fire starter you're using. I don't get anything from it.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe there's scientific tests to prove it, but I would say this method works as good as any the way
so I guess
set it up.
That's the thing. When
I see what people are talking about, but if you're using like matchlight charcoal or something with a chemical or something in it, you wouldn't want to do that.
Yeah.
But if it's just charcoal, it's just charcoal.
Yeah, that's what I think too.
There's no chemical in it. It doesn't have a. I mean, it's just coal with a binder to hold it together. I mean, there's wood, coal that they burnt down from wood, compressed together, and with usually a starch or something to hold it together. Now, some of them do put some kind of chemical retardant or something on it to put the fire out, and sometimes you'll see that in some brands, but not in that Royal Oak Natural.
Get you a good all natural.
Yeah, just get you a good charcoal. That's my answer to that. Now, I hadn't tested it with anything but Royal Oak because that's what I burned. But, I mean, I used to burn Kingsford back in the day because it's cheap, and you might. I don't know.
I've heard they have some chemicals in there.
I don't believe it. I think. I mean, why would they do that?
I don't know.
It's just something to make that coal stick together. It's just starch.
Yeah. So there's no truth.
I don't think there is.
Yeah.
That's busted. I busted it. I busted it.
Okay, now we can move on to the trim and season.
Yeah. So I started with the regular 9-pound pork butt I got from the grocery store with nothing special. Trimmed it up a little bit. It actually was a great looking pork butt. It had a big, beautiful money muscle.
It was. Where'd you get that pork butt?
Kroger.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was just a Kroger butt. Nothing special at all. I don't even remember what.
You'd cook that in a contest, wouldn't you?
Heck yeah, I would. All day long. I could have got plenty of slices out of that money muscle. There wasn't a lot of fat on it to excess to trim off. I took some off, behind the money muscle where there's that little vein, clean that up a little bit. There's always like a little tough, thicker area of almost like cartilage on the money muscle, I guess, where it's attached to the actual hog. But
you were just pulling off any trash.
Any trash, cut out any dark spots that was on it. Well, it didn't take a minute to trim it, really. And then instead of taking the fat cap off or, exposing some of that, what I call butt bacon meat or whatever, that false cap meat, I left all that fat on. Left the false cap on, but I did score it so it would create some what scoring does, it helps that fat cap break down because it's smaller pieces and it lets it kind of melt, and you'll get some, extra moisture on top of the butt as that fat melts. But scoring it in those little cubes makes delicious little bites.
It does.
I mean, I did notice somebody said on there, what happened to the pile of
delicious little bites?
The delicious little bites. They noticed it got smaller over the video. We couldn't stay out of them. Every time you turned the camera off, I was eating one or two, and you were popping them.
They were just
Michael was popping them, and they were great, man. Those, I never did used to score the fat cap like that. I've always I always trimmed it off because of comps, because I want to really get that bacon meat on top, what I call bacon, shoulder bacon or whatever, false cap. I want to get that meat.
Well, in comps,
so I can get a bark on it.
If you score it, you can't push all that fat off and get that string.
Yeah, get that stringy meat. Yeah.
Of that butt bacon.
And so I just never did that. But I know I got it from Mark Williams of Swine Life. Yeah. He does it all the time. And we did it with we were doing like a TX butt, and man, it made them so good. It was like salty and peppery and just the little cubes right there. And that was the best part. It was better than money muscle to me.
It is.
I like rendered down fat like that where it just melts in your mouth. It's so good. And that's what it was. By the time you put the rub on it and set the bark and then glazed it, it was phenomenal.
So you didn't use a binder?
No, and this really wasn't about a recipe. I was just cooking the butt to see how it would work on the Weber. That's really what it was about. So I just threw some hot rub on it.
So do you?
I could have put some mustard on it and injected it and done it all up, but that wasn't really what I was going for. We just made that pork butt to eat. And then we made a sandwich out of it. Took a few pictures, bagged it up. We got some in the freezer for some beans. We could make some barbecue nachos. It was just eating butt. It was smoke and one rub and the glaze, and that was it. And I spritzed it, so that's what kind of kept some moisture on it. And I just used apple juice and vinegar. So once I got it seasoned, I did nothing but hot rub. I let it sit there while the grill came up to temp.
Is hot rub your favorite rub for pork butts?
No. My favorite's probably AP and the barbecue rub, but hot rub's good. I mean, it's straight hot rub on a butt. You see how beautiful it is. I mean, it's good. There's nothing wrong with it.
Hot rub.
It's not my favorite. My favorite's Old Standby, but it's a close to a favorite. Yeah. But it was
good.
So the butt goes centered over the vortex.
Why did you go fat side up this time? Normally,
because I wanted to make those delicious little bites. That's what it was. And see, a lot of times, it does protect the top too. That's the other thing the fat does. It offers protection to the butt. Not only does it keep it moist and juicy, offers protection, and it's good little eats. So 3 ways right there why you should do that. If you cooked it upside down, they're all going to get they're going to be nuked, kind of. All the heat kind of goes
all
down that way.
Well,
that's usually what happens. I don't know if it would have on that vortex because the vortex kind of shielded it enough, but it's still not going to look good because it's been sitting there on the grate the whole time. I cooked it that way because I didn't care what the bottom looked like, but I wanted those to be really good.
Do you think the bottom didn't get burned up as bad because that vortex is taller than an aluminum pan?
Yeah, I would say that. I would say so. And you could probably get a large vortex up in there. I set mine in there.
That was a small.
Yeah, that was a small. But if you had a larger one, it would even give you a larger bowl. And I put it in there, and I would have had to done something to the bottom grate to get it to sit right because it did raise it was a little uneven on the rack, and I didn't want it to look janky. I didn't want it to be wobbling. It'd have worked. It would have just been a little bit wobbly, but it would have gave me a little bigger bowl. So if you had a bigger butt or something, it would protect it even more.
I don't think you went wrong with this one though.
No, it was great. I could see doing a chicken in there too.
Yeah,
putting that in there and doing a chicken.
Yeah,
I might do that. Just take the cooking grate out put the vortex down in there and stand the chicken up on the chicken rack vertical and just let it stand there in the bottom of the grill and see how it does because it cook around it.
Yeah.
You know,
you're almost rotisserie.
Almost, you know,
Yeah.
like the fire's doing the rotating
Yeah.
instead of the meat. It's going to be interesting. I hadn't tried it yet, but
Yeah.
I'm interested in doing it. I might try to do my old stand-up turkey and see how that does for Thanksgiving.
Give that one a go again.
Yeah, that I've never done a Weber turkey. You could though. I think a 10 to 12 pound turkey would have fit perfect right there like that, just like I did that butt.
You want to talk about something people want to see?
Yeah, that's a good idea. That's really,
a lot of people
write that down. Weber turkey. That'd be a good
So you
one.
just basted it every hour.
So closed the lid and went and mixed up in my sprayer half apple juice, half apple cider vinegar. About the hour mark, I went out and checked on it just because I wanted to see how that fire was burning. Spritzed the outside, and I did that. It was burning fine, looking good. Color developed in about 3.5, 4 hour mark right in there. It's time to wrap it.
Oh, it was looking good.
Oh, it did. It looked beautiful. So I took it off, laid out 2 big strips of foil because I wanted to double wrap, put a little vinegar sauce over the top just to add some moisture, and it really makes the bark look better. If you just wrap it up with nothing, it'll kind of be ugly when you unwrap it. But I've learned if you'll just put some vinegar sauce in there or, you know, barbecue sauce, anything, any extra like that, it makes
that thin.
It makes that bark look ready.
Yeah.
I mean, it's good, right? You can eat it right out of there when it's done. And so stuck a meat probe in it. I used my dot set for 200 degrees. You know, after I wrapped it up super tight, I put it on a little raised rack inside a shallow pan just so it'd be easy to get off the grill. If the foil busted, the pan would catch any drippings or anything like that. It just made it easy. You don't have to do that. You could set it right back on the rack. But
why add the rack to that setup? Because you got the pan.
Well, I was just trying to keep it off the bottom of the pan. I could have set it in there probably.
It probably gets a more even cooked.
I think there could be a little bit of airflow underneath it.
Yeah.
Not as direct heat. It worked great. I would do that again. I mean, you know, we do that a lot of times in comps too.
Yeah, that's a
I'll put wrap our butts and put them on a little rack like that and slide them back in the pit. That way, because if you're moving them around or picking them up, it's less likely for that rack to tear the foil. Because when it's laying right on it, and you know you're sliding it or anything on your grill rack, there's a good chance you're going to tear it some kind of way. And it's in that pan, you can pick it up and move it. And I'm not having to slide it on that little raised rack. Then when I get ready to glaze it, all I do is unwrap it, set it off, and then throw the foil away and set it right back on that raised rack, and I'm ready to go. So,
and it definitely works really well for when you're glazing it because the glaze doesn't
sit
glob.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So it went back on, and it was about right at 8 hours. I mean, to the minute.
Almost,
that thing hit 200. I did go out and check probably about the 6 hour mark. I didn't really look at the clock then. I always go look at the thermometer and see where I'm at so I can kind of gauge how it's climbing.
Well,
but the charcoal was doing fine. But what I did like about that new Weber is it comes with the grates that have the little charcoal flaps on the sides where if you did need to add some more charcoal, you don't have to pick the whole grate up and move it. That would be one option if you don't have a grate to do that. Just get you some grill gloves, set the grate off, put you some more coal in if you need it, and then set it right back on. But this one has the little raised up flaps.
Yeah.
Or you could just put a couple more, another little shovel of coals in there and went right along. But I didn't have to. 10 pounds, it was about half a 20-pound bag ran 8 hours, and I shut it down, so I don't really know. I mean, it was almost to the end. Yeah.
It was at the end. So let's say you cook this butt for an event that's happening in 4 hours. You pull it off. You got 4 hours to play with. You're going to put it in a cooler.
Yeah.
Just
as soon as it hits temp.
Are you going to open it
I'm
up?
going to vent it. I always like to vent them. Let the steam off. I mean, not like set it there for 20 minutes or anything. Just let the steam off, wrap it back, set it in a dry cooler. If it's, big cooler, throw you some old towels or something in there to take up some of the space. But if it's a small cooler, you probably don't need that. But I do like to set a pan and all down in there to keep it cooler as clean as possible. And then it's good for 4 hours.
Minimum,
easy.
Yeah.
Now, I do like to glaze, like if you're going to glaze it. Now, not everybody glazes pork butts. It's more of a show thing because you can always doctor it with sauce at the end.
Yeah.
And most people don't see you break it down, so you're just pulling it anyway. So, but this one, since I did it on camera, and I like glazing it for the bark, and I knew I was going to be eating some of it on camera, so I just glazed it up.
Yeah.
And for the glaze, I just use simple 50-50, the
You're a
barbecue
glazed
sauce,
man. You're gonna
vinegar
glaze
sauce. I'm
everything.
glazing everything. But it looks good.
Yeah.
And so I would glaze it before I was going to serve it. Like rest it for the 4 hours or whenever your event is. Take it back out, go back to the grill and glaze it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't glaze it and then hold it.
Yeah,
It
definitely.
just doesn't do as good.
But it's still going to be hot and ready to go.
Yeah. Now, if you're going off somewhere, there's not going to be a grill, you're probably not going to glaze it at all. You're just going to take it and run it and break it down and doctor it with the little 50-50 sauce right before you serve it.
Yep. Here's a little pro tip. I wrote
For me,
down.
I need a pro tip. I always need tips.
This is kind of a competition secret. Is a lot of people will get that smoke flavor or really bring the punch of that smoke flavor in the glazing process.
That's
because the smoke attaches to wet sauce.
That's right. It sure does. And what you can use there is wood chips. They do great because they're not going to overpower it. Don't soak them in water. Just throw a handful of dry chips right on the coals, and it really gives you that pop of flavor. People would think you've smoked it for 8 hours.
Yeah.
Because it absorbs the sauce, just grabs that smoke and holds it.
So you can.
You got to watch it though, because you put too much, you can oversmoke it. Like you throw a big old piece of green hickory in there, or something strong, it's going to ruin it because it's going to taste oversmoked.
But you get a small.
And I know that firsthand because I've done it.
You get a small handful of like apple chips or cherry chips or whatever. It really gives that smoke flavor.
I like
the
peach.
Smoke flavor. Peach.
Peach is a good pop right there because it's mild and it's a little different flavor, and it's like, wow.
And it's only on there for 10 to 15 minutes while it's glazing.
Not long at all.
Yeah.
And that heat on the Weber was perfect for glazing. It was just right. I mean, I didn't check the vents back. I just let it roll, and it seized it up at about 10 minutes and locked that sauce in.
So what are you looking for when you glaze?
I want it to not look.
Know it's glazed.
Not look like fresh sauce on whatever it is you're glazing.
It's baked in.
I want it to look caramelized. The sauce changes colors. It looks baked in. It kind of looks cooked on, and it doesn't take a whole lot of heat to do that. You're not talking an hour or anything like that with the sauce. It'd burn up and turn black on you. You got to watch it. You don't want to go too far when you get sauce on setting the sauce. I mean, it's just to set the sauce, caramelize it down, get it to start to where it's about to turn, and it'll make the outside. That's what really makes your bark look good. So if you've wrapped something, most of the time it's going to look horrible because it's just been nuked inside that foil. And that's when we started setting the glaze. A lot of times I'll hit it with a little rub, put it back on, bring the color back, then I'll pop it with the sauce and let the sauce glaze on, and that really sets your bar. But this one, I didn't think it needed any extra rub. It was ready to go.
Yeah, it was. It was really pretty.
And that's a judgment call, too, if you need extra rub. Like for ribs, a lot of times, especially if they've been in like a lot of butter and brown sugar, they've kind of taken some of your bark look off. A little rub will bring them right back.
I think when people say, how do your ribs or your pork butt or this look so good in like your pictures and stuff, it's because you take the time to glaze it at the end.
Yeah, it does do a lot for the appearance.
Yeah.
That goes back to comps, knowing you got to have a good appearance.
What would you do differently?
Get me another Weber grill and cook me 2 butt. No, I wouldn't do nothing different on that one. Made some white barbecue sauce, maybe some coleslaw. All we had was some pickles and some meat and bun.
Hey, pickles.
It was great.
You buy those restaurant thin, is that what they're called? Thin restaurant chips?
The Kroger
something?
ones?
Yeah.
Heck yeah, those are awesome.
They're like pickles McDonald's have.
I wish
they're
I
like
could figure out their recipe for that because I'd jar
flat and
them.
smooth. Flat, thin, and smooth.
They're just like, I don't know, they remind me of like Crystal or White Castle.
Yes.
The little thinnest cut ones, but you put some of those on the bottom and some meat on top, some sauce drizzled over it. You got you a pork sandwich.
I like to put a little extra rub on top of my pork when I do that.
Mm-hmm. Give it a pop of seasoning.
Yeah, but same thing.
But that setup for the butt would work on a lot of different. I mean, you're not going to do ribs like that, but you're talking for whole chicken, beef ribs, a small brisket, a chuck roast, something that needs a longer cook. That snake method on the Weber with the void in the center in like a pan or the vortex would work awesome. I mean, you can run that pit at 250. You can get 8 hours easy out of it, and just by adding a little more coal, you can even go further than that on some stuff.
Yeah, if you needed to.
It would work good on like a half pork loin. That'd be a perfect cook for that,
Yeah, I can see that. Well, so, okay, you're talking about chickens and pork loins. They don't have the same cook time as a pork butt.
No, and you don't have to go 8 hours, but I mean, just shut it down and you still got part of your coals left. That's the good thing about that snake method is it's not using up all your coals. So if you do finish your cook, you can shut the vents down, cut all the oxygen off. Those coals are going to go out. And so you've got more coals. You can just start your next one.
Yeah.
For now, I want to talk about the other 2-zone setup.
Okay.
Because you can also go indirect with putting all the coals on one side and then having your pan over on the other side. So
and I think we have a really old video where you cooked a pork butt with that method.
I need to
old.
I need to do here's another one I want to do on the Weber is ribs and show, because ribs wouldn't work on mine, but on the snake method, because they're too long.
Yep.
If you cut a rack down, but you want to cook a full rack. But I could cook, 2, I know, with coals on one side and a void on the other with a pan, or I could get a rib rack and stand them up, and I could probably cook 3 to 4 slabs at one time on a Weber. So that's probably a video I'll do in the future, just for another good Weber video to show people how to set that one up. Now, you've seen me; I've used the 2-zone fire like that a lot.
Yes. Like all on one side, and
yeah,
you use that.
I use it for all kinds of stuff. It's great for tri-tip, it's good for chicken. A lot of chicken pieces, like if you're doing the jerk, any kind of thing where you want to start out like a reverse sear, and that's what I think of. I use that style setup if I want to do a reverse sear or if I want a safe zone, because I can cook. I can grill right over the hot side, and then it's got me a safe area. If things get out of hand, I can move it over.
Yeah.
And so that's just a setup everybody needs to learn. And you can also, this Weber grill came with these little charcoal trays, and you can buy them. It's like a Weber accessory. Yeah, little half-moon charcoal trays. Now you can set up a 2-zone fire from that, where each tray goes on a side, and then it leaves you a long void down the middle. And that one's great for the rotisserie setup. We used to use it for what I called flipping chicken. So we had this
it was a fish basket.
Yeah, it was like a camping fish basket that you put vegetables in or fish, and you kind of lock it down and it holds it in place. And it goes, I'm not sure if I got my rotisserie set for the Weber Kettle from Weber or if it was like an aftermarket product. I can't remember. But it's a ring. It's a ring that sits on top of the Weber. You take the lid off, set the ring on it, and it's got notches for the rod. And so you got your rotisserie spit that goes through there. And then you don't want the fire right below it. Well, I want it to be even coming from both sides instead of right below. I guess you could run it below and let it flip. But when I did that chicken, I had the charcoal. I knew it took 17 coals on each side to get my chicken done in 25 minutes. I had it down. I did it and did it and did it.
We never put it in a butter bath when we did that chicken, right?
No, it was
just
straight
spinning,
flipping chicken. So you take your chicken thighs, season them up, do all that, put them in that basket, lock them down, run the rod through there, and it's like thumb screws onto the rod to hold it still. You put it in place, and then you put the Weber lid on, and you turn the motor on, and it starts flipping that chicken where you got fire on both sides with that basket flipping, and it's just even heat all the way through it. It ran at about 300 degrees with 34 coal briquettes. I'd put a couple wood chunks, small wood chunks on each one, and it would cook competition chicken in 25 minutes. I mean, we would take them out.
We'd glaze them.
Rub them. But what I would do at that point, like once they got first cooked, in about, I guess it was 20 minutes, they would be done. We'd temp them. They'd be about 185, 190. Yep. We'd take them out, dunk them in sauce, and then I'd take the rotisserie spigot out and set the grate back on there and put a pan there, and then put the chicken in the pan and just let it cook and glaze right there in between, like sitting down in the grill. I didn't put the grate. I set it right down in the grill so the heat was on either side of it coming over, and it would set the sauce, and then we were done. And we did really, really great with that flipping chicken because it was a different taste of chicken. Yeah, like a bunch of first place chickens. But what happened was cooking them in those baskets would leave definite lines across the top. And so we started hearing back feedback from judges because we had judging friends, and people would talk, and I was afraid they were getting to notice my chicken, and they would think that it wasn't as good as the time they had it and it was first place.
I think we were overthinking it.
But
we just had a few bad hits with that chicken and
it was
completely abandoned it.
Yeah, and so I got rid of cooking. I went back to I'm not cooking chicken with any kind. I don't want them to be able to tell it was flipping chicken or whatever.
We're going back to flipping chicken.
It makes really good eating chicken.
It's almost crispy and it's got the grill.
It does. I think that's what was good about it because you got the skin pinned. And as long as you've got it wrapped around, the skin can't come undone. There was no toothpick in it or trying to keep it in place. The basket itself held it in place. and it was hot enough to where it would make it look like you had it on great marks.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was beautiful chicken, and
it was really pretty, and it was different. Everybody else is cooking their chicken in a butter bath
chicken,
the same way we do it now, and it's good chicken, but being just a little different.
We had
and good.
fire roasted competition chicken thighs, and they were good.
We're gonna flip some chicken. All right,
but it was a pain to haul the Weber because back then I didn't have one. The legs would pop out. I wanted to talk about that, the new Weber. What I was on it.
Well, first I wanted to talk about Weber grills. Period.
Okay.
Let's talk about the history of Weber grills. What do you know? I did a little research last night. Let me tell you what I know.
Yeah, because I know they've been making them, I don't know, since World War II or something like that. When did the first, okay, Shell, do you know when the first Weber grill was made?
In the early 50s.
That's what I guess.
So backyard grilling started getting popular after World War II. People were moving to the suburbs and they were cooking, but everybody was using almost like what we call camping grills. You know, it was just a box or a circle, coals in the bottom, grate on top. No lid.
Yeah, I remember seeing
no
those.
Airflow.
I remember seeing those like pictures of them. It was like it almost looked like a hubcap on some legs. It'd be real thin, like those disc cookers.
Yeah,
almost.
they called them braziers.
Yeah, I can see that.
I guess BRAZI.
Those were the old school grills.
Yeah, but you had flare ups. You couldn't control it. Weather would ruin a grill. You know, wind, rain, whatever. So old George,
need a lid, huh?
old George Stephen was working for the it was the Weber sheet metal company or something like that. I think he was part owner.
Fabricators.
Yeah, it was fabricators. Yeah. They were doing buoys for the Great Lakes. They're making buoys. So he had this idea where he took a buoy, and I saw it, and it didn't look like a buoy to me, but whatever. He cut it in half and turned the bottom part.
I can see that.
Yeah, it looked like almost like an original kettle, similar shape.
Yeah.
But
I imagine it looking more like a.
It was more tall and thin,
like a what I call a cauldron or witch's pot.
Yes,
kind of metal looking like that, almost like the end of a propane tank.
Very similar.
It's more of a kettle,
So he started doing that. He made a prototype. It worked so well that he started making. He started
legs on it.
Yeah, he started doing making the Weber grill, something very, very similar to what you have today.
Yeah.
And he called it George's Barbecue Kettle, and that was in 1952.
I did not know that.
In the late 50s, he took ownership of Weber completely and started a barbecue division, and they just kept making more and more and more. He was a great entrepreneur.
When did he get into propane grills?
They
sell a bunch of propane grills too.
That was in the shortly after. I mean, I didn't get into all that.
Where'd you get these facts?
Wikipedia and the Weber
Good to know.
Website.
I didn't know.
So now
I just wrote in my notes that there's probably more these Weber kettles sold than any other grill.
It's the top selling charcoal grill in the world.
I believe that.
Yeah. But one thing I did find interesting when I was doing research was Hasty Bake has been making grills since 1948.
Wow.
And Char-Broil says they started before even that. So you think about Weber being the original.
Yeah.
But there were several other grills out there.
Well, PK was coming along back then too.
Really?
They were in the 50s.
They were in the 50s.
Yeah, I want to say it's like 52. I don't know for a fact, but I know it was in the 50s when PK made the portable kitchen.
Yeah, Weber was just better at getting it out there, advertising, and it's a great grill.
And it's a great grill. Yeah. Heck yeah, it's every man's grill.
Yeah. There was a story of one of the stories was that when he was trying to spread the word about the Weber grill and show it off, he went to a local bank and made a deal with them that if he could set up and do demos of his grill, he would pass out free ham sandwiches for everybody that came in and set up an account at this bank. And the guy said, "Oh yeah, that's great." And they had tons of people show up for grilled ham sandwiches. Huh. I don't know what a grilled ham sandwich is, but it was basically rye bread, ham, and mustard is what they said.
That don't sound bad. I imagine it's like pit ham. You know how you do it, Baltimore pit ham or whatever?
Yeah, that's exactly probably what it was.
It was already, it's already ham. He just warmed it up on the grill, got some char on it, and probably sliced it off and
passed them
piled it up.
Yeah.
Sold a bunch of grills, I bet.
I bet. But I was like, what's a grilled ham sandwich? I Googled it.
Hey, I'm writing that down. Grilled ham sandwich.
It is a good idea. Well, I've been wanting you to do that Baltimore pit ham.
I'm going to call it the Old George. Old George.
So,
mustard grilled ham.
and then in the 80s, they opened a Weber restaurant. And now I think they have 4 or 5 locations.
I've been to the one
I knew you
downtown.
had. So tell me about the Weber restaurant.
It was pretty cool. They had from what I remember now, this has been many a beers ago, but it was right downtown. We were up there for a ball game, and when at the dinner I saw the Weber restaurant, and all you see is this big line of Weber grills inside kettles. That's what they're cooking on.
Yeah.
So you sit down, and it's hot because I don't know what time. It was one of the early games that year. I think Florida State was playing Notre Dame.
It was early fall, late summer.
Yeah, and I went up there to go watch Florida State play Notre Dame. It was an awesome game. Florida State dominated. I'll probably beat Notre Dame worse. They've ever been beat at home that game. But we stayed in Chicago. Just drove over to South Bend because not much happening in South Bend.
There ain't nothing happening in South Bend.
Chicago is a 24-hour city.
Yeah.
Lots
it was
on.
more accustomed to your old lifestyle.
More accustomed to my lifestyle. So we went to Weber Grills, and I think I got the filet there. And I remember it being really good. It was really hot, and I thought it was cool how they just had the same grills you could go buy lined up all down, and their kitchen was open, so you could see what was going on. And it wasn't like, I don't remember glass being in between or anything. You just kind of walk by it. They might have had like a low counter that you had to stay behind or something. But the chefs were back there cooking on charcoal, grilling steaks. Everything they were cooking was coming off those Weber kettles, and it was pretty slick.
Yeah.
I always wanted to go.
Was it a steakhouse?
Oh yeah, it was a Weber steakhouse.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
And the menu was.
It was better. I tell you what, it was better than Lowry's. I went to Lowry's that trip too.
Oh really?
Weber was way better. Yeah.
You get a filet at there at Lowry?
I think I got a ribeye there.
I didn't know Lowry's had a restaurant.
Yeah, Chicago. There's so many good restaurants in Chicago.
Oh yeah.
It's one of my favorite cities. I love Chicago.
That and New Orleans are.
Yeah, foodie towns, man. You go there. I've always wanted
foodie towns.
I never got to go to the Taste of Chicago. I've always wanted to go up there for that.
I've heard it's like when it's hot and
it's in May, I think,
crowded,
something like that. Oh yeah. One of my favorite things in Chicago is their combo popcorn. It's like a half caramel corn, half cheddar cheese corn. You stand in line to get it. Oh, it's so good.
I got a good hot dog.
Oh yeah, but you got to go to Navy Pier and get you a Chicago dog.
New Orleans got that good hot dog too.
You got to go get a pizza.
Yeah.
Chicago deep dish pizza. And the sausage combo sandwich. Man, there's so Italian beef.
I'm more of a New York pizza.
I've never been to New York.
I haven't either, but.
But I have been to several Chicago deep dish restaurants. What's the other one I really like?
You got to stay up on the mic.
Uno's is good. There's a whole bunch. There's several of them that are real good.
You got to stay up on the mic.
Okay, I was just thinking of myself away from it.
You had a moment.
Yeah. I was thinking about Chicago deep dish pizza. It's almost lunchtime.
So, we'll talk about what you got for your birthday.
Yeah, so I got this new Weber kettle, and it's pretty daggum awesome.
Yeah,
it's got upgrades.
So what is it?
I've had 3 Weber kettles in my life. The first one was the Marlboro kettle. The second one was the green kettle that I've used in a lot of videos. Yeah. And the third.
How did you get the green one? Did you just buy it?
Yeah, I just bought it. Bought it on Amazon, I think. And this one, did you buy this one on Amazon or from Weber?
No, I bought it from Weber. Okay.
And it's called, is it called the Master Touch? What's it called? Look it up.
Okay.
It's the Weber Touch. I know the original one I had, the last one I had was the One Touch. The first one was just the old, doesn't even have the charcoal ash catch pan or anything. The Marlboro grill, it was just like a flat little cylinder or a flat plate in there that caught the ashes.
Ungrateful. I've never met a man more ungrateful.
the Marlboro grill was awesome. I love that grill. Somebody told me they still have it. I think it was Duker's. One of his buddies is the one that got it off our curb when I set it out there. I think. And he's like, and after he heard us talking about it on the podcast, he said, so-and-so still has that grill. I don't think he's using it anymore. I said, man, tell him I want it back. That's a classic. I'll buy it back from him.
Did you hear anything about that?
It all. No, I need to follow up with him on that. I forgot all about it. I think he told me that when we were going out of town or something.
That needs to go in the museum.
It does, at least. I mean, we could at least put it in the showroom.
I could turn that into some type of flower pot or.
It's ready to cook. What do you mean?
So that's a master. I think it's the Master Touch charcoal grill, 22 inch.
Yeah, So it's just a souped up Weber kettle is all it is. And what they've done, the features that I like about it, that's what I wrote down. I don't know what I don't like about it because I hadn't.
You hadn't played with it enough to find that out.
But so what makes it different, it comes with a lid hinge now. And the hinge system is really cool because the lid just kind of goes in there real easy. Yeah. It's easy to take on and off without having to unscrew anything. There's not a whole lot of, pin pulling or anything like that. But it works really good. It holds it up no problem, closes down good. Did take a little bit of adjustment. You got to get it to where it sits right and seals off because, you want it to close down tight or whatever. But it wasn't hard to put together at all. Mark Williams, I think, put it together for me in 10 minutes. He was like, "You want to put that together real quick?" I said, "Sure." He throwed it together with nothing to it. And but so they
you get started. I'll be right there.
Yeah, I'll go check and see if the beer's cold. So they added the charcoal hinge. They added a little fire ring. It sits down in the bottom of the grill. So you've got the fire grate, and then they've got another ring in there, which I really like. Because it keeps your coals, it's a little bit smaller than the circumference of the cooking area. So it's like 22-inch grate. Well, this ring is probably, 16 to 18 inches if I had to guess. Mm-hmm. It's a little bit smaller. So you don't lose coals all the way out to the edge. And it just keeps them all together in one even layer. I really like that ring. And they also, it comes with a diverter now. So it sets up for another way of two-zone slow smoking on the Weber. Now, I hadn't played with that.
Somebody said that they were disappointed you weren't using the diffuser.
Oh, I'm going to. Yeah. I'm going to use it for something, I promise you.
But not everybody has that diffuser in
the Weber. And that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to do the snake method. Yeah. That's what I wanted to show. I'm going to use that, believe me, because that was another feature that it came with. Now, they also moved the vent. The vent on a Weber used to be kind of kicked off to the side. The handle was straight on top. Mm-hmm. Well, they moved the handle to the front now because it's got the hinge to raise it up. And so they took the vent and moved it dead center up top. And it works a lot like an egg or ceramic grill or something like that. I was a little, iffy, but because, on a Weber kettle, the great thing about it was you could always take that vent and move it wherever you wanted to, depending on the wind. So I'm on the fence on that yet. So far, it worked great for the low and slow cook. I couldn't imagine it working any better. And they may have done that just because of the way the egg, the ceramic grills are designed for that heat to roll up, and they found a better way to move that handle. Because you can't really have the handle on top if it doesn't have a lid hinge. You got to be able to pick it up. It wouldn't work where it was. But that worked out great.
It says it has a one-touch cleaning system in the bottom. Have you messed with that at all? Do you know what I'm talking about?
That has to mean that it has this little slide handle on the ash pan, and all that does is move the intake vents. Yeah, it does. And so you can go back and forth with it and make the coals fall out. I guess they're going to call that one touch. But that's been standard. But what they did do, they changed the intake vents. They used to be just slits, and it had this like fan blade looking vent cover that would go in there, and that was what was on the handle, and you could move and turn. It almost looked like an old school propeller on an airplane or something. Yeah. Well, now they've got those vents cut wider, and they kind of circle out. It looks like a capital letter P or something like that. Yeah. So it gives you more air going in, and you can control it. You can even check it down further and leave that a little open. So if it's getting away from you, you can really let a little bit of air in. That's what I like about it. That's why they did it. Gives you more control of the airflow ththrough the pit. Yeah. So that's exactly why they did it. So I imagine when you put that diverter in, you check those back to where they're just barely open with the the little circle of the P shape open. Yeah. And the top vent, you can really get to. I bet you could hold it down to 225 if you want to, no problem. But I've got to play with all that, and that's coming. I just hadn't done it yet.
Yeah. Was that your first cook?
No. I fired it up and started cooking steaks on it right away. Yeah. That's what I mainly use my Weber for, is a fast steak cook.
Why don't we try it out tonight?
Oh, no. I'm not going to do it low and slow tonight.
No, I'm thinking steaks.
Sounds like a plan. After football practice.
Yeah. So is football practice tonight, or is it baseball practice tonight? It's baseball practice tonight.
That's right, yeah.
We are playing baseball and football this fall.
So what other feature? Oh, now the legs. Well, now the legs, like my old Weber, and I hated it for it. It was hard to move around because the legs just went up in there, and all they had was like these little folded over a piece of wire that was supposed to hold the leg up in there. It never would. I mean, Weber was notorious for coming off the legs. Then they added this little pin. So now it's got like another push pin deal where it can't come out. Well, I always took a sheet metal screw and just one right straight through it, through the frame, held the leg on. Once I figured that out, my problem was solved. I was like, why wouldn't Weber do this? Anyway, so now they do. That kind of pins in like a tent pole or something. And it works. And the wheels used to come off really easy, but now the way they go on, they can't really come off.
Well, I really think that they were building it for people to put on their patio and leave. They did not know you were going to haul it all over the country.
Yeah, tailgating and steak cooking and all that.
Yeah.
Flipping chicken at contests.
But now they've thought about that.
Yeah, and so it works really good. The wheels you used to have to beat on with like a hammer. Now
they're horrible.
Yeah, now they go on really easy. But that's and it came with a little, like, I guess you call it's a clip-on or a thumb screw. It's not really a shelf. I guess it's a bracket to hold a thermometer, and I'm sure it's for like their Weber iGrill or something. But the ThermoWorks, it's metal, so my ThermoWorks dot just magnetized right to it.
Oh, that's cool.
And it stayed there, and you could put your wire probe thermometer device right there on it. That was handy. It also came with the little half moon charcoal trays, like we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
And so that it comes with a lot of stuff. I mean,
It
was
came
like
with more
$300
accessory, but I got you the premium. I don't know if that made a difference.
How much was it? $300, $299?
Yeah.
I didn't think that's a bad price for it. I mean, knowing the Weber One Touch is about probably $129 or more. It's double that easy, but I don't know.
I mean, if that's what you're gonna,
you can do a lot with it. You can
that charcoal
I think it's
grill
a
can
good.
last you for a long time.
People ask me what's a grill to learn, to start out on. I'll always say master a kettle. Get your Weber kettle. I don't care if it's the base model. Learn to cook on it using the vents and the airflow and the different setups. Then you're ready to decide if you want to invest more money into different kinds of smokers or go pellet or whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
But the Weber kettle is a great jumping off point.
And I would say,
because it's versatile.
Yeah, I would say start with something in that price range at least. Get a few cooks in. Learn how you like to cook. See what you like, and then you'll be able to, invest the $1,000, $2,000 or above.
Yeah, if you want a pellet grill or an egg or a bigger smoker or something like that, that's definitely the way to go. But
you can get
everybody should have a Weber kettle.
You can get an 18-inch, which I'd go with a 22 if you could, but you can get an 18-inch for $89.
Yeah, that's dirt cheap.
22 is $165.
Oh, is that what it is now?
Have you ever wanted the ranch?
That was the one I thought I did want. The big ranch kettle, because it's the biggest one they make. But the more people I've talked to say it's just too big. I mean, it would be cool if you weren't going to ever move it and it was going to set out and you're going to use it for a lot of grilling and stuff. But I think the 22 inch is the most versatile.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what I want now. I wanted to talk about accessories, but most of them aren't Weber accessories that I love. They're aftermarket accessories.
For the Weber,
though. Yeah, for the Weber.
Or for kettle grills.
Yeah.
I've bought a kettle grill at Walmart for $40, $50.
Yeah, those are knockoffs.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of knockoffs.
They didn't last long at all.
Yeah.
But it was for like a tailgate or, it was like we needed it that day. And
I've had one. In fact, was it Charbroil that made one? They sent me one. And I did a couple of videos with it at the old house.
Yep.
And then now it's still at my dad's place up in McNair County.
Yeah.
He cooks steaks on it. I got a set of grill grates for it, and it's hanging in there.
Yeah.
Is it a Weber kettle? No. It's a good grill though.
There's people that like collect them.
Yeah. There's a lot of vintage. I think some of those vintage ones are cool. They used to make a lot of different colors and stuff.
They've got one now that's blue. I kind of saw that when I was looking at.
You like that blue one?
Yeah. Not that we need any more grills.
But
let's talk about attachments.
Yeah, so out there, what's available, or some of the favorite ones that I have. First one come to mind is my Gabby Grills Santa Maria attachment.
Yes.
I love that thing. It's a heavy duty steel Santa Maria like circle with the the handle on it and the cable system that lets you roll the wire up to raise the grate up, off, and down. And man, that thing's fun to cook on. I've done a lot of cooking on it, and I love it.
And
I think
it
that's
allows
a great.
You to have a Santa Maria grill for $100.
Yeah. So for that style, it's really cool. I guess they're still making those. I don't know.
I'm pulling it up right now.
But
they start at $139, $140.
Yeah, that's not a bad price at all. I don't know if you could tear it up. I guess you could break the cable or something, but it's all steel.
Yeah, you could break the cable, but I think that'd be really easy to replace.
Yeah, that attachment and the rotisserie are probably my favorite two that I have. The rotisserie I talked about it earlier, it's that ring and the rod. You know, you can get.
Was that a Weber attachment? Or?
No, I don't think so. I think it's an aftermarket rotisserie for a kettle. Weber probably makes one, I imagine, but I don't think this was I don't know. It's been so long. That was something I bought when we first started cooking KCBS. So it's been before Michael was born. It's been a long time ago. Probably.
You still have it too.
Yeah, I still got it. It's on a hook hanging up on the wall. I got the rod, the motor, all of it still works too. I mean, most of that stuff's pretty daggum durable. That's what I like about Weber.
As long as you don't let it out and leave it out in the weather.
Yeah, well, you know, I had that on here to talk about. They make covers for Weber Kettle. I've never put one on mine. I mean, this new one, I'll probably keep it under cover because it was a $300 grill. But for $150 Weber, man, let that jerker set out. You can't tear them up.
Yeah.
I mean, if you keep the vents closed, I've never had one rust. I mean, it's just the grate. You might have to replace the grates, but everything else on them does fine. I mean, they're pretty daggum durable. One of the other accessories that I don't have, but I would be interested in checking out, is that pizza oven attachment. Have you seen those? I think several companies.
Something to me about that.
Several companies have made them, and they sit right on top of Weber and turn it into a pizza oven. I hadn't never experienced. I hadn't seen one in person, and I hadn't tried one, but I think it'd be a pretty cool idea. But
here's one. They go for about $184.
$184.
Yeah, it's not a Weber. It's a kettle pizza.
Yeah, it's just it's a cool attachment. I thought.
It just goes in between the lid and the grate.
It's like the ring for the rotisserie. It goes in between it. But that was what
similar.
The reason why I brought that up is
I want that.
It kind of shows the versatility of that kettle.
Yeah,
like you've got more than just a charcoal grill with that. You've got more options. So by the time you get the pizza attachment, the Gabby Grills attachment, the rotisserie attachment,
$1,000 in.
But you've got 4 or 5 different grills that you have options to cook with.
Yeah.
Another one that I do have that I used to use a lot, I cooked some comp chicken. That was a ribolator, and it's a rotisserie attachment that turns the Weber into a rotisserie grill. It comes with like 4 stainless trays that look. If you think of a carousel, that's how it looks. And you can put slabs of ribs on them. We use them for chicken. I have cooked ribs on them.
We've cooked wings on them.
Cooked wings on it. It works great. You use those charcoal trays and get your heat right, but
better have it level.
You got to balance it. It's because I have ended up with my chicken at a contest in the bottom of the Weber kettle because it gets off balance.
And
it's
I will
the only
never
drawback.
I will never forgive the ribolator for that.
Really? That's why we quit using it because we couldn't balance it.
And
but that was a pretty cool attachment. If you got the patience to work with it and balance it right, it worked.
Yes, it does. It works. But it's a lot of pieces. It's a big, monstrous attachment.
It is.
And you've got to be very, very careful. One time we did chicken wings and they all fell off, or one of the chicken wings stopped the, movement. And when we came back.
Put it behind and then all the shells were dropped.
Or when we came back, it was like these wings were burnt and these ribs were raw because they
let's scratch that. Don't buy the ribeye. I forgot all about that. It's been so long. Maybe that's why I've never used it again, Shell. We have to edit that out. Don't get the ribeye, Shell.
Hey, you do you. I'm just saying.
Hey, just being fair warning. It works if you got patience and are willing to balance it. And if you're OCD enough to stack your charcoal in there, you might want to balance your ribeye.
Yeah.
Might be the perfect attachment. But if you're like me, chaos rules the day. The ribolator may not be for you.
Yeah, if you're
I like to throw my
shucking and jiving.
Yeah, I like to throw my stuff on and my big gorilla hands, and it doesn't work well with all those tiny moving parts.
I just remember thinking, that ribolator.
Yeah, damn that ribolator.
Yep. Probably my favorite attachment, and this goes for any grill.
I'm gonna see if this is mine, same as mine.
What?
All-time favorite.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Grill grate.
That's exactly what I was going to say. The grill grate.
That is worth.
It's worth the money for them. Yeah.
No matter what grill you got it.
Yeah, but especially for a Weber kettle, especially if you love grilling steaks or burgers or anything, pretty much where you want to get pretty grill marks on it.
Yep.
Even heat, and then you talk about being able to flip the grill grates over and cook on the flat side surface for smash burgers or pretty much anything. Grilled cheese. I mean, you could do all kinds of stuff with them. But grill grates is my number one accessory.
It makes
not by Weber. They're made by Grill Grates.
They're made by Grill Grates, yeah. But they make them for every size grill.
Yeah, gotta have them for your Weber though.
If you're having problems with flare ups with burgers or steaks or getting even cooking or anything, Girl Greats just makes it so much easier and
And
better.
Another one
for me.
Another one is the Vortex. If you're a chicken wing lover
Yeah.
like I am, big fan of chicken wings,
You know,
do that Vortex.
You've used you've cooked fish with using the Vortex.
Yeah, I've done a lot of stuff with it.
Yeah.
The Vortex is versatile too. I mean,
Yeah.
I wrote down, so these are must-have accessories that I say if you got a Weber grill, my must-have ones. First is a charcoal chimney. Weber makes them, but there's a ton of aftermarket ones. Next is my grill grates. Next is my Vortex, and next is a rotisserie, and then my grabby grills.
Yeah.
That's my lineup for must-have accessories for a Weber kettle.
Yep.
Because you've got so many options with those right there that you can cook and do.
You've done like chicken thighs with the Vortex, fish, a lot of chicken wings.
That's my favorite thing to cook with.
Yeah.
Now pork butt.
Now pork butt.
And I'm going to do a whole chicken too. That's on my here. I don't know what I'm going to call it. Or I'm going to do a Weber turkey. I'm going to call it the Vortex whole chicken.
Write it
Just
down.
so I remember. If I don't write it down, I'll forget. I got that.
So is there anything else?
The only other thing that I had made notes of, and I know we probably get asked this because I get asked it all the time, is what kind of fuel do I burn in the Weber kettle?
Yeah.
I would say 80-90% of the time I'm burning charcoal briquettes.
Yeah.
I just like the even heat on them when I'm grilling. That's what I use. The only time I really burn lump is when I'm cooking with that Santa Maria attachment.
Yeah.
Because I like the wood flavor and it's popping and, it just gives a good heat. It's real high heat, but I can get away with it on that Santa Maria attachment. I will use some lump sometimes if I'm grilling steaks and I know it's going to be a quick cook. But most of the time it's briquettes. And even in, when I was taking the Weber steak contest, I would burn briquettes.
Yeah.
I wouldn't burn lump. So that's 90% of the time charcoal briquettes, 10% of the time lump.
Yeah.
But,
that's just your personal.
That's my personal. It's personal preference. Lump will burn great in it, but to me, it's made for charcoal briquettes.
It really is.
It really is.
So what do we got coming up? We got a lot of beef.
A lot of beef. I've got my buddy Brian from Son of a Butcher, right?
Yep, Son of Butcher Barbecue.
Went down to Pensacola and saw Mr.
He just
Kevin
got
down
engaged.
there.
Congratulations, Brian and Whitney.
Yeah, congratulations, guys. But they went down. Brian went down and saw Mr. Kevin there at the butcher shop in Pensacola, Florida, and he luckily, I appreciate it very much, called me and said, "Man, is there anything you need while I'm down here? I'll pick it up for you and bring it back." So I was like, "As a matter of fact, there is." I wanted some chuck steaks. I wanted some Denver steaks. I got some tomahawk. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I got. I got a flank steak, and I got a beef tenderloin. So
Goodness.
It's fixing to be Beef City. Ready for some iron?
We're fixing to go back to back to back beef.
I don't know if it's going to be back to back to back. It's on the freezer. So I'm going to mix them in. I got some other things I'm going to do, but it's going to be beef heavy, I promise you, because
I'm fine with that.
those chuck steaks are Wagyu. Denver steaks are Wagyu.
What's the plan for the chuck?
Tomahawk steaks are just, I think, brown. They look good. I don't know. Chuck steaks?
Yeah.
It's, I want to say it's a poor man's steak, but it's Wagyu, so it's really not a poor man's steak. But it's an inexpensive cut. I mean, and I hope Brian vacuum sealed them up for me. He picked them up fresh, vacuum sealed them, froze them, trucked them up. Oh. And I don't know if the tags on them or not, because I really want to see what they cost. I might have to get him to
take him out to dinner or something.
Yeah. I mean, I got to pay him for them.
Yeah.
But so he's got to know. But I wanted to see what the package was so you could compare and see what you could get these chuck steaks for.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And how they're better than any grocery store steak you could get. And it's just part of the chuck roast. They cut them into steaks. But that's where Wagyu shines. The lesser cuts, the Denver steaks, the chuck steaks, the flat irons, the chuck roast, all those Wagyus.
That's worth your money.
It's worth the money because they're not that expensive. Now, you get up into the ribeyes and the tenderloins and all that stuff. I mean, you get talking some serious cash. But Kevin can cut at those chuck steaks and sell them for 2 steaks for $15. And it's Wagyu beef. It's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, and then they cook up. Oh, it's like butter.
Would you say?
I can't wait to cook them.
Would you say that Kevin down at the butcher shop in Pensacola is running one of the better butcher shops you've ever seen?
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I would say that he's probably got one of the better butcher
service,
shops in the country
whole way around.
right
It's
now.
awesome. And his business shows because he is booming.
If
It's
you are
awesome.
in the Pensacola area, go check him out.
Yep.
It is worth.
He's just a good guy.
Yeah. But they run a great business. They're getting really good stuff, and like you can't go find Denver Wagyu steaks.
Anywhere in Memphis that I know of.
And he ships.
Yep. But that's coming up. That's all I got. We're still working on the podcast. We did get some equipment ordered. It's starting to come in.
Yeah, this is a temporary setup.
We said that last week. It's still temporary.
I mean, it
We got
will
a new
be.
sign. New sign came in. We got rid of the square sign and we got the shape sign now.
We do have some other things. We are going to improve upon it, and it'll be really cool. It's not going to be Joe Rogan cool, but
It's not going to look like the spaceship. He does have the mothership of podcast rooms now. Shout out to Matt at Meat Church. Man, he got to meet Rogan. Rogan's wearing his hat on his podcast.
I was happy for Matt when I
Heck
saw
yeah.
that.
He got to go to his house and set up a grill for him.
Yeah.
How cool is that? Joe Rogan's like my podcast hero.
And you know that Matt, being Matt's probably become best friends with Rogan at this point.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know?
They may be neighbors. He may have bought the house next to him in Waxahachie. I don't know. I don't know where he moved to. It's probably Austin or something.
But that's going to be great
That is
for
so
Matt.
cool.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
So that's all I got today.
Well, hey, it's time for the weekend show.
Yeah.
We're gonna do some cooking, and y'all appreciate y'all hanging out with us this week. And we'll be back next week with something brand new.
If you'd like to connect with Malcom, it's HowToBBQRight on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and of course YouTube. If you'd like to connect
Maybe
with
TikTok. Anybody see me on there busting some?
we
moves?
might be doing some TikTok.
I've been watching Michael do his little whatever it is, hand jive.
You need to learn that WAP dance. It's the craze, Mount.
It is.
If you'd like to connect with me, it's Miss Southern Shell on Instagram.
Hey, we'll see y'all next time. We gone.